Hello, everyone. I'm Clay Jenkinson, and I'm out listening to America. I'm now at the Three Forks, at the town of Three Forks, Montana. And this is where the three main tributary streams that form the Missouri come together, not far from Bozeman, not that far from Butte, right along I-90 in western Montana. The river you see below is the Gallatin, which was named for the Secretary of the Treasury, French-speaking Swiss-born Albert Gallatin, who, by the way, was one of the nation's earliest experts on Native American language taxonomy, on the classification of languages. Like Jefferson, he was fascinated by this, partly because he wanted to know the origin story of natives. And if you could see that certain tribes shared language groups, you could begin to sort out the great migrations. And there was hope that in collecting all these vocabularies and comparing them, we might also be able to know something about how they crossed the Bering Land Bridge. Now, many native cultures say they've always been here and that the Bering Sea story does not work. It's not true. This is science versus another kind of truth, and there are many kinds of truth. At any rate, that's the Gallatin, and just over there is the Madison, named after James Madison, Thomas Jefferson's closest ally, arguably best friend, Secretary of State, and then became the fourth president of the United States once Jefferson retired in 1809. And then over here is the Jefferson River, named after, of course, the illustrious third president of the United States, the patron of the Lewis and Clark expedition, the mentor of Meriwether Lewis. Lewis lived with Jefferson for more than 2 years in the White House before he began his historic tour. So the three rivers come together, not in the kind of precise triangle you might hope, but very nearly so. You can see two, you can probably see all three from here. This is Fort Rock. Lewis is said to have climbed up here to get a sense of the country, and what he saw was, oh my, rivers going in several directions. He said, that one, the Jefferson, is the one that's going to get me closest to what I need to do to get to the source and climb over into waters of the Salmon, Snake, Clearwater, Columbia, and so on. He was right. Of the three, that's the one that you want to take if you're going to the Pacific coast. The Madison and the Gallatin have their sources down in Yellowstone National Park. This is a really amazing place. The rivers are running beautifully. I object to the United States Geological Survey saying that the source of the Missouri is here. Well, obviously, these are source streams, but hey, we have to go all the way back to Meriwether Lewis. He said that when the river split up into three here, he could no longer call any one of the three the main stem, and so he would cease to speak of the Missouri and begin to speak of the Gallatin, the Madison, and the Jefferson. He did follow the Jefferson and eventually came to a place right at Lemhi Pass where he could bestride the Missouri River, more than a mile wide in St. Louis. And here he could bestride it with his legs. He said 2 miles below McNeil, one of his men stood with one foot on either side of this little rivulet and thanked his God that he had lived to bestride the mighty and heretofore deemed endless Missouri River. It's a beautiful summer day. It's the 11th of July, about 80 degrees, a light breeze. The light's a little bleached out, as it tends to be in the summer on the Great Plains and in the Intermountain West, but it couldn't be more beautiful. Watch, I'll give you a little video tour. So that's the Gallatin, and you see that it is coming from my right, your right, and moving up right in front of me from that little situation with the big island sandbar, moving this way, and is going to connect with the Missouri River just over there. You can just barely see it in that gap. All right. And now, don't climb up here. Don't tumble to my depth. This is Fort Rock, where Lewis and Clark stood to try to get a sense of the place. Now up here, a much better view. You can see that's the Madison on the left there, all the way down into the distance. You see the Madison coming up from Yellowstone National Park. And there's the confluence parking lot there with an erroneous sign about Lewis and Clark, I'm sorry to say, and in metal, so it's not as if you can fix it with a Sharpie. And then you see way off in the distance there, that's the Jefferson. And when Lewis stood here, he realized, oh, we're going to have to go over those mountains, and it's not going to be a Cumberland Gap either. These are serious mountains, and he knew that there would be fatigue and suffering before they got to navigable waters on the other side. He was aware before they got to the Bitterroot Mountains that this was going to be an ordeal, so he must have known something about mountain travel long before he got to the American West. He knew it from West Virginia, which was then part of Virginia, the Ohio country, but of course he's never seen anything like this. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Missouri River. That's the putative source of the Missouri River, and it's going to go that way towards Helena and the gates of the mountains, and then up to Great Falls, and then to the right, all the way over to North Dakota, and then it will turn on its long, sweeping trajectory towards the Platte River in Nebraska, and of course the Mississippi River at St. Louis and St. Charles. So this is sacred country, and I am delighted to be here on this perfect July day.